Sunday school, Mrs. Bailey, I remember her name, picked me up and said, I want to give you a big hug, Joe Ray. We remember people. We remember the people who were there. And Mike, they'll remember you down on the floor with them.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Man. And you're so right. We never forget how people make us feel. And yes, that's true negatively too, if someone is off-putting. But this is good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for that. I want to tell you another story, but this one actually has a point. I don't know if it's true. I hope it is. I suspect it's not. But I had begun my first pastorate. I got married in early January, the 12th of January, 1980. And 2 weeks later, I became pastor of a little church in Virginia. And I didn't know how to be married, and I didn't know how to be a pastor, but here I was. And I remember being in Charlotte County, Virginia, that there were plantations. Some of them had been restored, and they were gorgeous. Some of them were in total disrepair and falling apart. And some of them now, more than 40 years later, they're gone. They were lost before anyone reclaimed them. But I remember just being amazed at these plantation houses and how wonderful they were. So a friend of mine, John Locke, mayor of the town, brilliant man and a godly man. He's now with God, but he was showing me around the area, and we came to a place that he said, that's Gravel Hill Plantation. Now that part I can tell you is true. There is a Gravel Hill Plantation. He said, let me tell you about the big Thanksgiving feast at Gravel Hill. He said, it's going on now. The lady who bought the plantation, he said, now remember, this is 40 years ago. He said, the lady who bought the plantation started this about 20 years ago. She began inviting in some of the people in the community that she was close to come in, and they would eat wonderfully and sumptuously from her own kitchen. She did it herself. It was just amazing. But every bit of the animal protein served at that had to be an animal that thrived locally. They had deer meat, bear meat, and so forth. You can just figure the rest out. She had done so many things to get ready for this particular year. But in preparing the food, on the day of the night of that big dinner coming in, she realized she had left off one of the most important ingredients. And so she spoke to a couple of the people who worked for her there at the Gravel Hill Plantation and explained, this is not going to taste right without mushrooms. We've got to have mushrooms, but it's too late to go into town and get them and to come back here and prepare them. And one of the people working for her said, that's no problem. Out behind the barn is a whole patch of mushrooms growing. And I can pick those and bring them. Are they edible? Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah. And so she sends him, he brings them, she prepares them and sautés and so forth. And the guests are arriving, and the table is bow-legged with food, and everybody is so happy and enjoying this wonderful meal. Now, I left off a very important detail on purpose, because she wasn't quite sure she should test to see if that the mushrooms were okay. She brought Rover in, her dog, and she put some of those sauteed mushrooms down in Rover's dish, and he just ate them up. Well, everybody's in there having the best time in the world, and about an hour and a half into the meal, one of the servants comes in and said, can I speak to you, please? And she said, well, yeah, go ahead. So no, I think I might need to speak to you in the foyer. So they go to the foyer. And as they are there, he said, I hate to tell you this. I truly do. but Rover is dead. And she thought, oh my Lord, what a fiasco. And she thought, how's she going to get out of this? And she realized she can't. This is too big. And so she went back in.